Hello lads and ladies, and welcome to this and welcome back for another video on the channel. It's Christmas, which means one thing: we are almost halfway through the Sky Bet League One season. Yes, a season that started in July and a season that will end in May. We're at the halfway stage, the most interesting stage of the season. For me, obviously, bar the last few games where things come to a close and you see things that you've been kind of expecting all year, or things that might shock you in the last few weeks of the season. We predicted the table at the start of the year. That went pretty badly. MK Dons in the playoffs. I think I'm not alone there. But we're going to have another go at predicting the table at the halfway stage. Who will get over the line? Who will go into the playoffs? Who may crumble? And who will be relegated? Let's find out in today's video. But if you're new, subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 11,000 subscribers. Give this video a like, it means a lot and will help the channel grow. And let's try and smash 11k. So at bottom of the table, I've gone for Burton. Now, they've improved. They're a point a game. But again, 44 goals conceded. Again, they concede the joint most away from home. They just don't seem to be able to have enough quality to win games. They're not losing as many games. A point a game under Dino since he came in. They're a bit better, but they haven't had that impact that I hope they would have done under him. They had a couple of good wins against Exeter City, Cheltenham at home. But bar that, he's been pretty bleak. Some big games coming up for them that could make or break their season. Next up, I hate saying this, I'm going for Morecambe. I hate saying it, although they're a rival, because I like clubs on limited resources. I like clubs that don't have big budgets. I like clubs doing well that aren't expected to do well. Morecambe are improving, and they always seem to be in games, but they always seem to concede in games. They've got one shining light, and for me, that is Connor Ripley. Without him, I think they probably would be on half the points they're on now. About the 7 or 8 point mark. I think he's been vital to them all season. 4 penalty saves, I think, shows that. But they concede too many chances. They don't concede as many as Burton or Forest Green. But going forward is a worry for me. They just need to get Stockton scoring. Phillips, they've got bright players like your Mayers in there as well, and a couple of good midfield players. But for me, it won't be enough this season. Next up, Cambridge. They're on a bit of a rut, and when you're on a bit of a rut, the manager was nearly gone, and since then they've struggled. And when they've not won at home for nearly 5 months, when you won your first 4 games there, and that was why you stayed up last year. That's why you're not in the bottom 4 this year, because of the start you had. It's a worry. They've never been brilliant away from home, but at the Abbey, it was their home, and they could get 30, 35 points there a season. They can easily go and get 15 points away from home. Next up, I am going for Forest Green. Yes, although I like them and I think they're improving game on game, and they're getting a couple of wins now and again, especially at home. They either win or they lose at home. They don't seem to draw games. Away from home, they've not won in 10, which is a worry. 5 draws, 5 defeats. I just think they haven't got enough quality in games to see games through. They remind me a bit of Gillingham last year, or Wimbledon, where they'd go a game up or a goal up or get 3 points in the game, but they can't back it up with enough quality. They have got the odd bit in Connor Wycombe, who I think is a very good player, but bar from that, I think they'll go down this season. Next up, and avoiding the drop, is Accrington Stanley. I don't think they'll go down because of John Coleman, because of the tightness they've got together, the group they've got together. They're a well-run football club. They've got enough quality in that side, and at home, they're a match for anyone. Open stadium, big physical lads. You know, a point to prove in this league. And for me, Accrington will be more than fine this year. I think it'll be probably the toughest season, probably since the first year when they came into League One, but they'll survive. And again, they finished in the top 12 last year, so it's a big drop-off, but every year that Accrington stay in League One is a successful season. Next up, I've gone for Cheltenham. Again, solid. I think that Wade Elliott's done a not remarkable job, but a solid job. To replace Duff, who is a legend down those parts. He did a really good job bringing him into League One, surviving in League One. And it won't look as pretty because they won't be as many points off the drop this year, because They probably slightly weakened, obviously losing Boyle and Wright in midfield. And the bottom four are probably improved. They'll probably get 45, 46 points. So the gap closings a little bit. And the outlook on Cheltenham season's a bit different to last year. But another season in League One is a remarkable achievement for them. Next up, MK Dons. I believe they will stay up. Now they have parted company with Liam Manning. I think they'll go to a little bit more of a different style of approach. They haven't got the players to play the way that Liam Manning wanted to play. He's a very good manager, very good with the right players. He had that last year. And if you give him time, a good budget and good enough players, he can take you to places where you need to go. I'm thinking clubs like an Ipswich or a Sheffield Wednesday or a Barnsley he'd be suited to. But this year, they've not been at it. But I do think they'll stay up, whoever they get. Next up is Fleetwood Town. A successful season seen in League One. I think it reflects a squad. I don't think they've got a bottom 6 squad, but I don't think they've got a top 12 squad. Somewhere in the middle of this bunch, Fleetwood will be. Look, it's very tight in this middle bunch. It's like, I think, 11th and 12th of 29 points, and then you've got 18th on 24 points. So a couple of games, a 3-game week, and it all changes, especially over Christmas. There's still a long way to go. There's still, 72 points to play for. But I think a successful season for Fleetwood, and this is around about where we'll finish. Shrewsbury are just a little bit above Fleetwood. I think they're better than Fleetwood, and I think that, again, they're one of these types of sides that can go winless in 5, but go and win the next 2, then go and get 1 win in 6. And those little spells will drag Shrewsbury down. Now, for me, Shrewsbury have probably got a top 12 manager, a top 12 squad, but they just never seem to be able to put it on paper over the course of the season. I think it will be another good season seen in League One, but I think a little bit higher for them would be deemed a success, not this. Next up, I've gone for Exeter. I was thinking between a number of clubs at this role. Exeter are very good since Gary Caldwell came in. 7 games, 7 points, but they played some tough games in there. Ipswich, Sheffield Wednesday, Derby, all come to mind as well. And they've been battling, and they're a good side. They've got some good players, especially in the forward areas. Jay Stansfield's a very good player. Sam Nombe is a very good player. Giovanni Brown, outstanding. And they've been a positive light in their season. Next up, I have gone for Lincoln City. Again, they're improving. And after last year, they had a poor season last year. But this year, they're much better at the back. And the home record is immense. Next up are Charlton. Now, they're not that bad. They've been awful for the last 6 or 7 games. But when they've shown glimpses of quality, especially at home, they're a decent side, Charlton. Their away form is dreadful. Early in the season at home, they were one of the best. It's dropped a little bit since. Obviously, defeats to Bristol Rovers and MK Dons at home won't help that. But a new manager in charge now, which I think will freshen things up. But Charlton just need a new ownership. They need to give the manager, Dean Holden, a little bit of time. They need new players. And I got abused for not putting them in the playoffs. And this is turning to be a mess for Charlton. Will they get out of League One again? Methinks. Next up, I've gone for Port Vale. Legs, hearts, minds spring to mind. They pretty much outrun all the other teams. They outfight the other teams. They score at good moments in games. They see out moments. They get clean sheets. They know they're difficult to play against. They're frustrating to play against. Nobody wants to go to Port Vale. Nobody wants to play Port Vale because they know it's going to be a difficult match. They know that Darryl Clark is a very knowledgeable manager. They're a well-supported football club, and they've really added something to League One this year. I don't think they've got a better squad than every team below them, but I think tactically the manager, he gets it spot on pretty much every week. Next up, Bristol Rovers. Joey Barton can get it right some weeks, but can get it awfully wrong some weeks. That's Joey Barton for you. That's a League One young manager. He will learn. But they've got a very good team there. They've got goals in them, and that's why they're so high up in my list. I think Aaron Collins is an outstanding striker at this level. Coburn as well. Can they keep him in January? It'll be interesting to see if he gets recalled, but I think he will stay. If they can tighten up defensively, maybe a little bit higher up the table. Who knows? Oxford, a bit closer to the playoffs than some may have them, but they always go on that little bit of a run that nobody expects. They're 8 unbeaten, but nobody's talking about them because they've drawn 6. That is still, when you look at it, 12 points, which is a point and a half a game. They really need to, if they win the next 2 games, all of a sudden you need a 2-point-a-game marker, which is promotion, automatic promotion run. They always start slow. Under Carl Robinson, they've got a chance. And for me, I like this Oxford side. It's not as good as years gone by, but it's still a very good, competitive, top 10, top 12 League One side. Next up, Portsmouth. For me, well off the top 6. Standards are not playing well at this moment in time. They don't look deserving of the playoffs. They look tired. They look fatigued. They've had injuries, but I'm sick of using that excuse. Other teams get injuries. They deal with it. This is why you have a squad at the start of the season. Portsmouth's squad at the start of the season looked good, but they were getting through games where I thought they got a little bit lucky. Look, let's be honest. If you get lucky and you win games of football, that's okay. But they've had no luck in the last few weeks and it's gone against them. So that's how football can pan out. I do think Danny Cowley is the right man, but when you're losing games of football, you question your management. And, you know, Portsmouth's squad, in my opinion, isn't a top 6 squad at this moment in time. But it needs huge investment to get to the standards where Plymouth, Bolton, Derby, even Wycombe, I think, are at this moment in time. So we're on to the top 8 now, and 2've got to miss out. One of those will be Peterborough because they're god-awful away form. I think in good moments where Peterborough get it right, they play really nice tiptoey football, relentless football, fast football, on the front foot football. They score 3-4 a game and you go, wow, what a side they are. But if you go and be really hard to break down, be disciplined, head everything away, get in the faces, score a goal and don't let them play, you won't hear from them. They crumble. And for me, that's what the playoffs are all about. You see sides going toe-to-toe in big moments. Sunderland won against Wednesday overall last year because of their outstanding performance at the Stadium of Light. Sheffield Wednesday were nowhere to be seen for probably the first 165 minutes of that tie. And I just think Peterborough will be a bit the same. I think they'll still be challenging, but they won't get in. 7th, Bolton. I want Bolton to get into the playoffs this year because I like sides coming up to this level with a good ethos. I like the way Bolton play. They play good football. They're good at home. They're strong away. Good support. But I think sometimes in games they can be a bit flat and they won't have too many shots on target. Against Fleetwood, they were working it a little bit too much and they probably should have had 4 or 5. And on another day, they wouldn't have won that game of football. You think that 2 very late goals, obviously, they just need to be better in the first 75, 80 minutes and not rely on late goals. I think it's going to be a scrap and I think it'll literally be decided by a couple of points, if not goal difference. Top 6, it's 6th. I've gone for Wycombe. You can never say Wycombe will not be in it because for me, they're only a couple of points outside. They've got a good defence. They've got stars like Mehmeti and Sam Vokes and, Alfie Mawson. And I just think Gareth Ainsworth, Wycombe, they get stronger. I think they went 14 games unbeaten to get into the playoffs last year. That's how good they are and they can get into the playoffs. 5th, I've gone for Barnsley. I think Barnsley will get into the playoffs this year. I think they're on a great run at the moment. They've won 5 in a row. They're getting stronger as game goes on. And I said in October when they scored last minute against Fleetwood, who doesn't score in the last minute against Fleetwood? Let's be honest. Don't write this Barnsley side off. They've got levels and they can get better. Do I think they'll win the playoffs at this moment in time? No, I don't. But I think they're solid enough to go and get 75, 80 points to clear a promotion chance. Derby next. They've got stronger since Paul Warne came in. They're scoring more goals. I think David McGoldrick's coming into his own. Collins is coming into his own. I think, some of the younger lads are coming into the side now, doing really well. He's got experiences through the playoffs. Obviously, he won promotion 2016-17 with Rotherham. Why not? Why not? Dare to dream. And I think Derby will squeak into the playoffs. We all knew that they would be the tough one. The top 3 it's literally going to change week on week where one will drop out and one, will climb up. 3rd, I've gone for Argyle. I just think past experience of last year, younger lads, your Cooper's only 22, 23, Ballymumba, again, younger lad as well. They've got some nice experienced players, your Ryan Hardys, those types of players. but I just think the top two will be a little bit too much for Argyle. Top two, Ipswich second. Ipswich go through the gears a little bit. I think that they'll get a goal up and then they'll go to gear C, and if it doesn't work, then they'll concede. I think Ipswich will get promoted this year, but I think it'll be a very tight promotion. I think it'll go to the last 3 games of the season, if not Fleetwood on the last day of the season. And winning the league, I've gone for Sheffield Wednesday. Now, they keep clean sheets away. Pretty much every time they've won away this year, they've kept a clean sheet. They've got 12 clean sheets. And if you keep 23, 24 clean sheets, which is pretty much the way they're going, they'll win promotion. And it's as simple as that. They've got goal scorers. They're getting results. I think it's 10 unbeaten now. 5 wins, 5 draws, which is 2 points a game. And they're just doing it in a steady way at the moment. And the beating sides they weren't doing last year, it's just, can they carry on for another 23, 24 games? So there are my predictions. Let me know what you think. What would you change? Some bold predictions I have gone for. Derby to finish 4th, just behind the top 3. Wednesday to win the league. Ipswich automatics. MK Dons to stay up quite comfortably. Charlton to rise up the table a little bit, as are Oxford, and Bristol Rovers to remain the same. Some teams plummeting, like your Exeters and your Shrewsburys. And then I've obviously got Accrington just to scrape survival. And the bottom 4 at this moment in time, as we know, Burton, Morecambe, Cambridge and Forest Green for me will go down. Let me know what you think. If you've not subscribed to the channel, we do all things League One. And if you are a football fan of League One or a football fan in general, subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot. But until next time, I wish you a very happy Christmas, and I'll see you on Boxing Day for the visit of Sheffield Wednesday, who happen to be the best side in 2022. Thanks for watching.